This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Today we're going to go over how Meghan doubles down on these lies that she tells. After I'm done with this video, I don't see how she could ever tell this story about the dishwashing soap as well as others ever again. Let's get started.
Meghan, will you tell the story about when you wrote that letter to P&G? Because I don't know if everyone's heard it, but it's such a great story at a very young age, what you did.
And at 11, I just found that infuriating and wrote lots of letters and put pen to paper, and they ended up changing the commercial.
Ugh, she's so modest.
It was at that moment that I realized the magnitude of my actions. At the age of 11, I had created my small level of impact by standing up for equality.
Now, just a quick refresher, Thomas Markle Sr. went on record with Tom Bower for the book Revenge, and he had indicated that it was him who encouraged Meghan to go ahead and write letters after she saw this commercial that infuriated her so much. He also said that even though Meghan had wrote to Clinton and others, no one replied. Eventually, the commercial did change, but it wasn't only Meghan who had been writing into Procter & Gamble requesting that it be changed. It was other people too, feeling that it was sexist. But Thomas Markle Sr. wanted to boost his daughter's confidence and make her feel that this change was her personal victory. Could that moment of boost in self-confidence be subconscious as she tells her stories today? I think so.
When I was just 11 years old, I unknowingly and somehow accidentally became a female advocate. It was around the same time as the Beijing conference, so a little over 20 years ago.
This woman is such a fraud, and she makes up these stories to fit in with the environment that she's speaking to. So here in this case, Meghan's going on and telling about this story, saying that at the same time that she changed this dish soap commercial, the Beijing conference was going on. Well, the commercial was in 1993. How could the Beijing conference be happening at the same time Meghan was changing the world with this letter when it was happening in 1995?
See, I had been in school watching a TV show in elementary school, and this commercial came on.
For a social studies assignment way back in elementary school in Los Angeles, Meghan and her classmates were asked to watch some commercials and assess their messages.
Well, that's not the story that Meghan told in 2014 in front of the UN for this He for She summit. This charlatan duchess wrote about the event on her TIG blog. Here's what she had to say. This was part of her speech. This is what she writes. I was 11 years old when the LA riots broke out in '92, littering my hometown with fires and looting, with curfews and recklessness. I happened to be at school when the mayhem began, keeping me and my classmates on lockdown until it was safe for our parents to pick us up. We didn't fully understand what was going on, so to distract us from the soundtrack of sirens outside our little red schoolhouse, they turned on the TV to The Price is Right. A smart choice, seeing as Bob Barker was just talking about microwaves and sofa sets. No real controversy there unless you happen to be offended by polyester paisley print. But during the commercial break, an ad for the clear ivory dishwashing liquid came on, including a tagline that said, "Women all over America are fighting greasy pots and pans." The boys in my class, Michael and Joey to be specific, said, "Yeah, that's where women belong, in the kitchen." I remember feeling confused, feeling angry and annoyed, knowing they were wrong, and yet knowing that I felt small, too small to say anything in that moment. When I got home, the lemon tree in my front yard charred from passing rioters. I decided to write some letters to First Lady Hillary Clinton, to Linda Ellerby, a TV commenter who hosted a kids' news program on Nickelodeon, to powerhouse attorney Gloria Allred, and to Procter & Gamble. I put pen to paper telling them what happened and that I thought the commercial should be changed. I didn't realize it then, But it was on this day, this dramatic day, clouded in smoke and confusion, where ashes fell like snowflakes in the Southern California sky, that I became a feminist. So here we go, another version of this dish soap commercial where she couldn't even get the years right. Does she even realize that the LA riots happened in 1992, but this commercial, as I showed you a few moments earlier, happened in 1993?
I was 11 or 12 years old when I was just about to start Immaculate Heart Middle School in the fall, and it was the LA riots, which was also triggered by a senseless act of racism. And I remember the curfew, and I remember rushing back home, and on that drive home, seeing ash fall from the sky and smelling the smoke and seeing the smoke billow out of buildings and seeing people run out of buildings carrying bags and looting. And I remember seeing men in the back of a van holding guns and rifles. And I remember pulling up to the house and seeing the tree that had always been there completely charred.
And those memories don't go away.
This is how stupid and idiotic Meghan is when she tells these lies. So apparently the LA riots and seeing this dish soap commercial that enrages her so much happened on the same day. Here, she mentions nothing about it, but being completely scarred with this vivid memory of how serious and awful racism was. So when we go back to this blog, they were watching The Price is Right when she saw this commercial. And at the same time, they didn't fully understand what was going on at the time. So how could she recall a memory that was so charred and etched in her brain when you go back and look at some of this stuff? The idiocy of this woman who couldn't even take the time to get her lies straight by at least getting the time frame and timeline correct. There's no way that she could have ran home and been infuriated while all of this was going on with the LA riots. And on top of that, her father confirming that she didn't even see any of it because he took her to Palm Springs. Just a quick side note, in this TIG post, Meghan mentions a lemon tree. Can someone explain to me this obsession that Meghan has?
When I told my dad what had happened. And he encouraged me to write letters.
But at the same time, Meghan wants us to believe the LA riots was going on when she got home.
So I did. To the most powerful people I could think of. Now, my 11-year-old self worked out that if I really wanted someone to hear me, well, then I should write a letter to the First Lady. So off I went, scribbling away to our First Lady at the time.
Now, here's an example of why I think Hillary Clinton is involved in this sham with Meghan, is because Meghan told this bold-faced lie of writing to Hillary and getting an acknowledgement from her while Hillary's sitting in this audience. If you look in the Clinton Library in its archives, there's nowhere this letter can be found or even acknowledged that Hillary was in receipt of it. Nor has Hillary ever spoke out saying, yeah, I remember seeing this letter and was so impressed by this 11-year-old. Nothing.
And a few weeks went by, and to my surprise, I received letters of encouragement from Hillary Clinton.
About 10 months ago, I did a video on this random Skype call that Meghan did with the University of Kiev. And in that video that was done in 2014, she had mentioned that Hillary Clinton was planning on running for president. See, but the thing is that it wasn't announced yet. So here she was telling Ukraine that she was running for president and had no business in doing so. Or did she?
If you see something that you don't like or are offended by on television or any other place, write letters and send them to the right people, and you can really make a difference for not just yourself, but lots of other people.
Now, I've said this before, Meghan is mentally stuck. She hasn't matured past 11 years old. Like, how many more letters is Meghan going to write to finally get the point that they're not effective? Like, nobody wants a letter from you, Meghan.
Yeah, and I even wrote letters to his family saying, please, it's very clear the protection of me or Archie is not a priority. I accept that. That is fine. Please keep my husband safe.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Well, that's all I have for today. I just wanted to put these little details together because details do matter, especially when you have someone who is trying to portray themselves as something that they're not. Meghan Markle is a bold-faced liar, and we have to continuously debunk these lies and call her out, because if we don't, these lies eventually, if told enough, are going to become the reality, and I don't want to live in that reality. Sorry, Megs, you're not a role model for mothers, nor are you a role model for young Black women, let alone women, period. Anyhow, that's all I got for you today. Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
I was such a fraud.